Hi everyone, this is Dr. Hess. I'm going to show you how to use 3-column notes to talk about the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and variance in Excel. First, I want you to understand what the mean is. The mean is often called the average. You add all the items in the list and divide it by the total number of items. And the Excel command uses the word average, and you list or highlight all the items. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The median is the middle value. So you put the numbers from your list in order from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest, and you count to the middle to find the very middle item or the average of the middle two. Again, we can do this in Excel, and we're going to use the command median and then list all the items. I'll show you how to do that when we open up Excel. The mode is the item that occurs most frequently. You can have no modes, you can have one mode, or you can have more than one mode. So Excel can find the mode, but it can only find one. So again, you'll use the command equals mode and highlight the items, but Excel will only let you know if there's none or give you one of them. If there's more than one, you're going to have to check. And so that means you might want to order your items and look to see if there are any repeats. And so if a couple items on, if you have a list of ages of people and the age 32 shows up 7 times and the age 50 shows up 7 times, you would have 2 modes. And so you have to check to make sure that you don't have anything that shows up so you can list them all. The standard deviation helps you know how spread out your numbers are. So for example, if your data gives you the average age and the average age is 5, is it 5 because you're looking at a group of kindergartners, or is it 5 because you have some some babies and some 10-year-olds, and the average ends up being 5. So if you have a big standard deviation, it would let you know that perhaps you're looking at the whole elementary school. And if it's a small standard deviation, it might let you know that you're only looking at that kindergarten class or whatnot. And so it helps you understand what your data actually is saying. So there's 2 formulas for standard deviation. Again, we're going to be doing this in Excel. So there's a sample standard deviation. So if you're looking at a group of children, the sample standard deviation might be the standard deviation, how spread out the group of kids that you're looking at. It's maybe a part of the school, maybe it's 30 kids, maybe it's 20 kids, but it's not the entire school. And you're going to use the symbol S for sample standard deviation. The population standard deviation would be is if you had all of them, if you had all of the data from all of the children at the school, or if you had the data from every single person in the United States, you'd have the population standard deviation. And so you'd be using the whole group. It's harder to have the data for the whole group. Getting the data for everyone in the United States is a little more expensive. Or getting the data from everyone at our college might be harder because maybe not everyone's reporting everything. And so that's why we use samples, because they're available. So in Excel, if you're going to use the sample standard deviation, you're going to do equals stdev.s and list the data. Population is the same, but it ends with a .p. And so when you're doing problems, just look for what type of data do you have. Does it represent everyone possible, or is it just some of them? Most of the time, you're just going to have some of them. Variance is another form to help you know how spread out the data. It's just the standard deviation squared, which means variance is always positive. So of course, larger standard deviation and larger variance means that the data is more spread out. Smaller means it's less spread out. And if it's 0, it means your data is all the same. So for example, if your variance or standard deviation is 0, it means all of your children are exactly 5 years old. There's no change. Or you only have one child in your group. And the symbol for sample variance is S squared. The symbol for population variance is called sigma squared. And the Excel command is var.s and var.p for population. So let's talk about how to do this in Excel. And if you look in the comments of this video, I have listed this data. This is data for the number of 10-year-olds enrolled in a school in Singapore, in all schools in Singapore, from 1984 to 2010. So what it's saying is in 1984, there were 46,582 students who were 10 enrolled in school in Singapore. And so forth and so forth. So that is our data. And so what you're going to want to do is go to the comments and copy the data. We're going to paste it in Excel. I'm going to show you how to do that, but first go copy the data. All right, if you haven't paused the video and copied the data, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, double click on a cell and hit Control V or paste it, and then hit enter. Now it's all in one cell. To do any data analysis, we need it spread out. So you're going to go to the data button up top, and you're going to go to the button to text to columns, and we're going to click on delimited. And notice the data is separated by commas. So we're going to click on comma and finished. So now each set of data has its own box, and I'm going to highlight it. So notice now there's a green box outlining my data. It doesn't highlight the first cell, but it goes around it. And now I'm going to go to home. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to click in a new cell, and I'm going to paste, and I'm going to click this double arrow to transpose it, or you can do paste special to transpose it. And now it's in a long list that I can use to do calculations with. If you hit escape, the highlighting will go away. So first I want to find the mean. So if you want to go back to your notes, you can see the command. I will type it in here and you can follow along. So we want to find the mean. I'm going to type that in so we can see what it is. The mean command is average, A-V-E-R-A-G-E, parentheses. I'm going to left click and drag to highlight all my data. And once it's all highlighted, you can hit enter and it's going to find my mean for me. Now we're going to find the median. Remember, that's the middle value. So you'll type in equals median, M-E-D-I-A-N, parenthesis, and you're going to click the bottom number and drag it up to the top one and hit enter. And now it gives us our median. Now I'm going to type in mode. Now remember, mode, it may or may not give us what we need. If it says NA, that means there is no mode and we're fine. But if it only gives us one number, then we need to check. So we'll hit enter. It says NA, so that means there's no mode, there's no repeats. Now we're going to find the standard deviation. Now from the data set, this is all 10th graders or 10-year-olds in Singapore. So technically this is a population. It's a population of all years from that certain time period of all 10-year-olds. So I'm going to say this is a population. So I'm going to write in the population standard deviation. And so we'll type in equals STDEV dot P. Now if it says, if you have evidence to think that it's a sample, which most of the time it will be, then instead of dot P you type S. Or if the problem explicitly says a sample, highlight, click enter. And the population variance. We'll type in equals VAR dot P because we know it's a sample. Otherwise you'd use the sample. If you don't know which one it is, generally you're safest to guess that it's going to be the sample. So there's our mean, median, mode, population standard deviation, and the population variance. If you're curious what you typed in up here, notice how it says average B4 to B77. So we're looking at cell B4 to B75. And notice for each of these, when we look at this command bar, it's B4 to B75 because we're looking at the same set of data. So that is how we are going to calculate the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and variance. Now I'm going to pause and give you a minute to make sure you understand the commands, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so you may need to go back and watch again, and that is fine. There's a lot to take in here. But the goal of this video is to help you understand all the measures of center, the mean, median, mode, and measures of dispersion, the variance and standard deviation, and how to calculate them using Excel. So now I'm going to give you a new set of data. Go to the comments of the video, copy them down, and I want you to find the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and variance on your own. So this, again, is the 8-year-olds in Singapore from 1984 to 2019, because it's all students over this specific set of time and not just a small sample of it, like the 8-year-olds at some of the schools instead of all of them, that you'd use the sample variance, standard deviation. But I'm telling you this is a population. Pause the video, try this on your own, and then come back and check your answers. So here are your answers, and thank you for watching.